story of Abdul Rahman, a 33-year-old Pakistani living in the UK. Never go to a magician for solutions. I come from a Kashmiri family from Pakistan but reside in the UK. My problems started when I was 21 years old. I was to wed my father's sister's daughter who I did not want to marry, and I left home through family pressure and started living alone. At this time my father and mother went to magician and did a type of magic on me to bring me back home and agree to marry this girl from my family. I know this as a family member close to me informed me after. Within weeks a terrible fear took over my body. I felt scared of everything. I had thoughts that I will die soon and I must get back home to be in the comfort of my own home. I physically cried a lot and felt weird lack of energy and aching limbs all over. I even started fighting with my flatmates with who I shared a home with. The mission was to get me back home to them one way or another. I had no idea of Jinn and magic and was thinking it's me and my health, but through experience I came to realize now that it was a Jinn deployed to make me feel all that so I get back to my parents. I did. The pain in my body, intense fear, and thoughts of death, and extreme love towards my parents within weeks, plus the fact that I was fighting with my flatmates who now hated me drove me back home. Within weeks we flew to Pakistan. My symptoms all subsided and I was being married off to someone I did not want to marry. Through family pressure and the energy of the situation I agreed and married my auntie's daughter. This was the start of a more disturbing situation. On the third week of being married in Pakistan I woke one morning with a terrible headache and physically no power in my legs. I started freaking out calling for my mom and dad who ran into my bedroom. They started saying what's wrong. I started convulsing and foaming from my mouth. They carried me off to Al Jinnah hospital in Kashmir and explained I'm a British born Pakistani and was discovered this morning with such and such symptoms. DRS could not conclude why the right side of my body was extremely hot whilst the left side was extremely cold. I was feeling extreme fear, again the weird feeling of something's terribly wrong. A kind of butterfly and stomach feeling mixed with extreme fear. I was shaking uncontrollably and even heard doctors asking my parents if I took drugs. I never did and I was just shocked at what was happening to me. I was taken home after doctors refused to understand what was wrong with me. I was bedbound third week into my marriage and shaking from fear and extreme hate towards all my friends and family around me. I remember now my best friends coming to me and me turning my face away from them. I broke friends with all my close friends and I did not know why. I was getting more and more sick, and crying for no apparent reason, extreme fear and doubt about my life. My wife was constantly around me and upset from worry. Into the 7th week of my marriage one morning whilst I was in a state of extreme fear my wife closed the bedroom door and said she wanted to talk to me alone. I asked her to please leave me alone as I was feeling weird pains in my shoulders and ears and I was afraid I might die soon. She said these words which I would never forget, "Maybe you're sick because of what I have done." I sat her down next to me desperate for a release from this weird sickness I was experiencing which all my family had worried. She sat next to me and explained. She broke down, started crying. "Oh, maybe you're ill because of me." I asked her to explain. She said your father and my mother and me went to a Christian magician who gave me a toys to give you to drink so you would not go out with your friends as much and would stay home and love me. I then remembered all the times she would wake me in the morning and give me warm milk. I asked her why. She started crying and saying that what I was feeling is all because of what she had fed me. I confronted my dad and his sister who went into denial and then surprisingly so did my wife as she apparently was scared of her mother. So I was left in the middle. The only person who was at this point on my side was my mother. She took me to a local priest in a village. He read some ayats on me and I became frantic and nervous. He also was a magician and had his own jinn through which he found out that some magic has been performed on me but it went wrong and now a jinn was tormenting me. This was the first time I was exposed to this information about Jinn and magic, and I was reluctant to believe but went ahead with the treatment of saffron written paper with Quranic texts and some water to drink and mix. My relationship went sour with my wife as I could not trust her again. In fact, I started to hate her. With the treatment I got 40% better to the point where I could walk and communicate. We came back to the UK, me, my mom and my father. My wife was to follow when she got her visa. For the first time I started praying Salah in my life. It was not regular but was a start. I started feeling a little better, but the nervousness, scary feeling, and weird shoulder pains were always there. I accepted that it was part of me. I blamed it mostly on sickness and refused to believe it's 100% magic. The Jinn inside me was reluctant to make me believe it was magic, and the Jinn assigned to me with the magic making me feel these weird symptoms. 6 months passed. My wife got her visa and now was living with us in the UK. My behavior changed. I used to disgusting acts on myself and was always watching pornography daily 24 hours. And I was extremely sexualized and would call sex chat lines and waste all my money on dirty sauna houses and such things. I was a different person, constantly looking for filth. I was also constantly living in a blur. My head felt like I was in a bubble, scary feelings switching to nervousness, to doubt about Islam and religion, and weird pains around body. I also used to get angry real quick towards people and snap. 1 year passed in the UK and my symptoms started to get even more sinister. I finally went to the doctor and explained all what I was feeling. The doctor was a Hindu and from a priest family. He told me straight, "Young man, I am a doctor, general practitioner, but what you have with you is magic. You must go and get yourself released from its grip. I can feel it from you and see something, but I cannot cure you. You must go and find the cure from someone who knows how to cure these things." I was shocked that my GP doctor was telling me this. The next day I phoned a friend and he took me to Brother Idris, a holy man in Birmingham, UK. Idris gave me a paper which he drew a circle in and told me to look at the picture. I did, and all of a sudden a face appeared of an old man. Idris explained that I was bewitched and a Jinn was with me. I was given holy water and certain things to which I was to do. I did, and during those first few weeks of treatments things got really bad. I started fighting at home with everyone, and at times I felt my head would explode. I did the treatment and was still praying on and off. I felt around 60% better. I then was introduced to another holy man. I took treatments from all and managed to get some sort of life back. But I would always feel the thing linger in the background. My relationship with my wife became more and more strained. I hated her for several reasons, one being the fact that she admitted feeding me the stuff which made me feel like I was feeling. We used to fight always. She got pregnant and gave birth to a beautiful girl. 3 years into the marriage and constant fighting, I decided to divorce. Now looking back, I do feel that the arguments and the constant feeling to divorce was fueled by this evil entity inside me. She went to London with my daughter to stay with her father, who immigrated to UK. I was 24, divorced, and now a believer that magic and Jinn exist. I was on a mission to get better and was introduced to an Amal through a friend, and he performed a ritual on me which cost a lot of money. I was desperate to get better and was not so informed about Islam. He did a ritual on me, and within days all of what I felt for last 3 years was lifted. I finally felt myself, the sexualized behavior, scary feelings, pains all subsided. This time I realized what was happening to me all this time, and made me suspicious of my family and its involvement with magicians and magic. I realized how involved my parents were with these people, and any problem in the family or refusal to listen to their commands resulted them in going to these men to perform magic to grant them their desire. My eyes opened up to conversations, and after I started seeing my sisters and brother being affected by magic and the circle of going back to the magician to either grant a wish or cure, I finally decided to move out from my family home and settle abroad alone. I was 25 and now living in a foreign country so I can make my own life and get away from all of that magic, and Jinn and problems. I knew I would miss my family but also realize their habits and lack of knowledge about Islam and the subject of magic. I confronted them several times to stop going to these people, as many times they performed spells on me to come back home. I'm now 33 and several attempts have been done on me to return home back to them. That are the reason I don't want to go home. When they perform a spell I get the obvious symptoms which I have become used to, the fear, nervousness, no sleep, weird pains, constant worry etc., and the urge to go back to the UK, which is the biggest clue. Another clue is the constant calls from my parents from the time the spell was performed asking how do you feel. I usually respond I'm fine, but in reality I do feel quite sick. They obviously want me back home, and are relying on magic to get me back through Jinn, which come and cause me distress here. Now I have become more and more knowledgeable of the situation. Alhamdulillah, praise be to God. Pakistan and the South Asia in general is full of this stuff, magicians and magic running in families, acts and behaviors manipulated by Jinn assigned to the certain magic in place. How many of us are infected and we do not know? The biggest defense is salah, prayer, and remembrance of Allah and the Ruqya. I guess it's tough, but things usually will get worse before they get any better. One should be on a mission to cure themselves, and through Quran and recitation, and pray inshallah you will. Also finding a Raqi is a good option, but one must be praying himself 5 times in order to let in the light. Stay away from drinking alcohol, and such stuff, and let the light in so you can cure yourself. Have faith in Allah. In some ways, if I was not inflicted by what happened to me, then maybe I would not be praying as I do now. So all things happen for a reason, and one should thank Allah for all He does, as He knows best.